Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over this truck that I've been working on. It's a 1975 F250 and it is a monster. For reference, I am around 6'3" and this thing just towers over me. I think it's got a 9-inch lift kit on it, if I'm correct. On my end, it's basically been rewiring the entire thing, engine rebuild, transmission rebuild. So we've got a fresh 460 in here, fresh C6 transmission build. Nothing crazy. We went from a flat tappet to a roller, but other than that, there's nothing insane about the way that this is built. It's a pretty mild cam, nothing crazy. All right, so 90% of this work has been done on a step ladder. I'm not even joking you. It's kind of hard to reach into things whenever, you know, it's lifted up this high. And of course, not only a 9-inch lift, but it's got some pretty good sized tires on it. So didn't really do any body work to this, just the floor pan. So basically just all the mechanical stuff, put a upgraded brake system on here. Basically every single wire was out of here. I just completely redid it because you can tell somebody had been hacking up the wiring, and there's a lot of connectors where they shouldn't have been used, and it's just always better to start fresh. I think this was also like a hotel for mice. So I'll put some pictures and stuff like that, just showing you how bad this actually was. So basically the idea of this build is just a patina style truck. And then, you know, firewall, there was some holes in it, and I had to, you know, cut sections out of the firewall and patch that up. This is also a smog era vehicle. So, you know, we wanted to get rid of all the canisters and really clean up the engine bay. The wiring is not done yet, so I haven't put it in looms or anything. So just know that it'll get even cleaner than that. I tried to run all the wiring behind the engine and up around to the battery just to keep it all tidy. So I'll show you what we're working with. All right, so first of all, wanted to, you know, paint the firewall up, get the inner fenders painted because those were pretty rough shape. So I was able to recover those and it looks a lot better. I put a Super Duty brake booster on here with a Super Duty master cylinder. So it's just gonna get a lot more brake line pressure in there. Again, the wiring that comes across here, it's all gonna be tidied up. These plug wires, if I can get them in a nicer fashion, I will. I'm trying to route them around the front. I just think it looks cleaner when they're bunched together. So, but on these trucks, this whole inner fender on this side was just covered with, you know, all these canisters and different things that we just don't need, especially since we did a fuel injection system on here. I'll go into the fuel injection system later. It is an Edelbrock ProFlow 4 though. It's got a Old Air Products AC system that I put on there. And with that, I blocked off this whole plate back here. This needs to come off here. That will not be in the way. But so once the wires all run through looms, it'll clean that whole firewall up so much, because these had a gigantic box that sticks like way out into this area. Comes really close to the battery actually. And we're just able to get rid of all that. This gauge back here is a fuel pressure gauge. And so since we're going to a return style fuel system, I put a regulator there with a fuel gauge on it. That way you can see exactly what fuel pressure you're getting up to that point. Where the fuel line comes in here, you'll have an electronic fuel pressure gauge, so that'll feed in and you can look up that stuff through the fuel injection system. I want to make sure I'm covering pretty much everything, because I know a lot of you guys ask stuff about the fuel system and that kind of stuff. So this is basically just a push lock. I know it looks like just a rubber hose, but it's not. It's a push lock hose that it's such a good connection that when you slide it over the barb for this AN fitting over here, it stays locked on. It's almost impossible to pull it off of there. You have to like really be trying to get it off of there, like prying on it and everything. So, and then I did reinforce that with a hose clamp just to make sure that it didn't come off of there. I believe these lines are rated for 300 PSI. Obviously this fuel system would never see that. I found that these fuel lines work really good. And there's hardly ever any leaks. Like you just don't have any issues with them. So I really like using those. So basically these wires here are going to 2 relays on the end of this fan shroud. And there's 2 fans hooked up to that fan shroud. It's a 4-row radiator. And the nice thing about this fuel injection kit is that if you want to run, one fan at a certain temp and then turn the second fan on at another temp, you can do that type of stuff with using the computer, which mounts right behind the booster here. So you can barely even see it back there. But that basically controls the ground output, and that'll turn your fans on. So that way you get just a really good control of where you're wanting the temps and when you're wanting fans to kick on. It just gives you a lot of control over your cooling system. On the accessory brackets here for the power steering, the AC compressor, and then the alternator, which is down low, they look really nice, they're strong, and they honestly just get all those pumps into the perfect spot. So the transmission lines are plumbed up the exact same way as the fuel lines. They just have 3/8 push lock hose. They hold up to 300 PSI as well. So, and again, you're not gonna see anything, definitely not north of 300 PSI on a transmission cooler line. All right, guys, so let's try to get this thing started. It is a fresh engine build, and we've got to do a break-in period for 15 to 20 minutes, and you're just varying your RPMs from 1500 up to 2000. So before we start the break-in period, I also want to say that list right there on the window. But basically, this is everything that I needed to do before I was able to start it, because when you're putting stuff together, I mean, obviously before I started this, I had almost the entire truck put back together. So during that process, like let's say you don't have a bolt or a nut for, the torque converter. It's important that, as you order those things, you just jot it down, and then you come through here and you cross the stuff off of this list, because there's so many things that can happen, and I've done it so many times. So just make sure that you're keeping some kind of list. All right, guys, so regardless of what kind of engine you're starting up here, it's always good practice to go and prime the oil pump. So I've taken the distributor out of the distributor hole, just take the whole thing up, take your cap off, set it aside, and then you'll have a priming tool that goes down, and normally it's like a hex key. For this one, that's what it is, but basically you just put it down the hole, you'll feel it lock in, and on this motor, you're actually going to spin everything counterclockwise. You should actually be able to feel in the drill the way that the pressure is building up. The drill should start to spin real fast, super easy, and then you'll just slowly feel it start building pressure, and it's got a little bit more resistance to it. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and run it over for you guys again, just so you can see what we're looking for here. But as you can see up here, the whole top of this head is wet. I primed this yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead and prime it again just so you guys can see. But you're looking for where the oil is going to come up into the rocker arms right there. So you can see it pulling up. I like to go ahead and prime it, rotate it a little bit, prime it, rotate it some more, just to make sure that you're oiling everything that you possibly can. I've seen people completely wipe their cams out on this part, so it's just always best to be extra cautious, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to make sure there's plenty of priming. All right, guys, so I've got everything buttoned back up. So I wanted to go over what we're working on here. So this is a 460 big block, and we have a Edelbrock ProFlow 4 EFI system on it. So it's a fuel injection system where they send you the intake. The injectors and everything are already installed in there. So you have your little standoffs where the injectors go into, and then the fuel rail comes with it. So, but this whole system is run off of a application. I can actually screen record whenever I'm setting up the parameters and stuff like that. So the goal with this is just basically get it started. I'm going to make sure that everything is working. I know I've got power to my fuel pump, but in order to do a full test and the full camshaft break-in, we definitely want to make sure that the fans are working, that kind of stuff. So because I don't want to just turn it on for 20 minutes and then just leave it sitting out here and then something crazy happens. So I typically like to do that outside, so I'm going to go ahead and wait till tomorrow to do the full cam break-in. But for right now, I'm going to attempt just to get this thing fired up. make sure that everything's good to go. I want to make sure I don't have any crazy leaks. I want to make sure, you know, the wiring stuff is all sorted out and it has what it needs to run. I also put this air conditioning system in here, plumbed it all up, but as you will notice for this first start, I have no belt on there because I don't want this to have anything to do with the first start on the engine. I would much rather just worry about the engine break-in first, then we'll go in and we'll address everything one by one. That way we're just kind of eliminating all the factors that could possibly happen. All right, guys, so bear with me. I'm going to try to screen record this while I'm doing this. So I'm on my phone, and we're going to go in here to the setup wizard. So you can see that we are connected. We're going to go ahead and start the wizard. All right, so this is just asking naturally aspirated or forced induction. We are naturally aspirated. So it's going to ask for your firing order. For the big block, it should be 15426378. So right there. This is just your displacement. So you have to just click. That kind of sucks. You have to click 60 times, I guess. So, oh, you can hold it. That's nice too. Okay, so we are 460. This one I think is just pretty stock. All right, so select a fuel pressure option. So for this one, I think we're at 43 PSI, 35 pound/hour injectors. So it's basically just gonna upload the base tune right now. And so far, I mean, this app's working pretty good. Again, I have not attempted to start this truck at all. So calibration was successful. You guys can hear the fuel pump priming in the background. So I'm going to cut this screen off and we're going to try a first start. They say to turn the key off for 10 seconds. And then after 10 seconds, you'll come back. You want to key on. That's the fuel pump priming. And let's see what happens here. Oh, okay, let's try that again. That was a neutral safety switch problem. So, fuel pump. No way. Okay. Just bringing up the idle just a little bit, just to make sure if it's cutting off too much airflow, it'd be like having the choke on. So, I just want to make sure that the idle's set right. And it's going to be a lot of little adjustments to try to figure out what this thing wants. All right, so change the timing just a little bit. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So we've got a little nicer weather day. Well, it's not nice. It's still gloomy and wet, but it's not pouring down rain. So let's get this thing outside. Let's do the engine break-in and see how all that goes. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and try to fire this thing up. I'm going to try to switch back and forth, show you guys what the app is showing. Also, there's a GoPro setup out there. So let's go ahead. Let this thing prime up. Oh, I haven't hooked my neutral safety switch up here. These two wires just have to touch. All right, guys, came inside just to give you a little update. So far everything's going pretty good. I stopped it just to check for leaks. We're about 15 minutes into the break-in, and again, I'm not hearing anything concerning, seeing anything concerning, so. Alright guys, so far so good. Again, I've just got some cheap little turbo mufflers on there, so this is not going to be what it sounds like. I think the customer's planning on doing a custom exhaust system on here, so, but very smooth. Got a real good startup tune in here, got my timing set, so everything just seems to be going perfect. All right guys, so obviously the break-in went really well. We have some things to do just to get everything put back together, get it ready for the customer, but it's always a good thing. This is like, you know, whenever you have a successful first start and break-in period and you get your base tune set and everything's just working great, it's always a really good feeling. So, you know, a lot of work went into this. And I've been working on this for a while. I haven't posted any other videos because I have all these other things going on in the shop at the same time. I wanted to make sure that I got a video at least of this thing, you know, done, running, everything's working out good. For the ProFlow system, I will, you know, link to that. It's not like a pay link or anything crazy like that. It's just to go check out the system. They have it for multiple different types of engines. So if you have a, you know, small block Chevy, big block Ford, you know, small block Ford, you know, the 302s, that type of stuff, they're going to have this system for you. So comes with the intake manifold, comes with the injectors, the throttle body on the top of it, the ECU. I believe it does not have any transmission control capabilities. So if you're wanting a newer style transmission and adapting it maybe to an older engine that you could use the ProFlow system on, you would just have to make sure that you have some kind of separate transmission controller. So as far as like first start goes, I was very pleased with it. Didn't have any issues. The installation was real smooth. There was no like missing parts that I had to worry about, other than obviously the fuel system. So, you know, you have to make sure that your fuel system is able to provide the fuel pressure. A fuel injected system obviously requires way more fuel pressure than a carbureted setup. So you have to make sure that you're getting that fuel up to the front. So I believe the in-tank fuel pump that I used was 340 liters per hour. It's a retrofit system that actually you set down a template, mark out a bunch of holes, and it gives you a mounting bracket that goes on top of the gas tank to where you can set the tank and actually submerge it in the water. I don't think you want water in your fuel tank, but with it being fully submerged, it makes it way quieter. So versus, you know, it being an out of the tank, like along the frame rail, those can be kind of noisy, but with it being inside the actual gas tank covered in fuel, you can barely hear it. Like, you know, you probably heard it at the first startup, whenever it's priming, but during runtime, you don't hear anything at all. So All right, guys, I'll quit rambling. Let me know what you think about the truck. If you have any questions about the fuel injection system or anything else about the truck, because I get some just random questions, just leave them in the comments. Happy to answer. So thanks for watching. Make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.